Let's continue the conversation surrounding President Trump's relationship with big tech. And for that, we want to bring in Bradley Tusk. He's the founder and CEO of Tusk Venture Partners. Bradley, it's great to have you on set here this morning. I'm curious how you're thinking about the presence of big tech at the inauguration yesterday, and maybe what that signals about the coming 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a turnaround from what you saw under Biden. And, there are very clear policy needs that a lot of the people who were sitting, on the dais yesterday have. If you take Zuckerberg as just the example, one, in his perfect world, TikTok would go away. That's 170 million customers up for grabs. Two, he, and it's also true for Google, for Amazon, for Apple, for all of them, want the antitrust prosecutions against them to stop. Lena Khan and Biden were very aggressive around that. And then third, there are specific policy things like, for example, Section 230, which is a provision in federal law that protects all the platforms from any liability for the content posted by their users. They want that to stay on the books. AI regulations will start coming. They want that to be favorable to them. Crypto regulation. So, there's a lot at stake for these companies. And I think that in Trump, they have a person that they can at least have a dialogue with, whereas with Biden was such a creature of the Beltway and of politics and so old, quite frankly. And his team were basically creatures of the Beltway and politics and pretty old also, that I think that they just didn't really even know what to make of that world.
What did the day one agenda and the presence of these tech executives clarify for you that might impact your investing in your position?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of a story of short-term gain, long-term pain, or short-term pain, long-term gain, depending on the category, right? So for example, immigration. A lot of industries in this country do rely on illegal immigration, and if there were mass deportations, which I think logistically is really, really hard to pull off, but if there were, that would be a problem, right? Because a lot of people need those workers. However, what our economy really needs long-term are millions and millions of more legal immigrants who are here filling needs in industries like construction, like nursing, who are paying taxes, because as our population keeps getting older and older and we have to pay more and more for Social Security and Medicare, we've got to repopulate the tax rolls with a lot younger people. I don't think you can ever get to a place to have a true deal on immigration to really increase legal immigration until you deal with the problem of illegal immigration first. So however you feel, either morally or even economically, about some of Trump's orders, to me, if the goal is to ultimately get to the right place long term, that's good for the economy. On the other hand, energy, I think people will cheer the fact that energy production is going to be opened up, and that might have a positive benefit on the markets and the economy short term. But if you look at the cost of the LA fires, that's devastating for the economy and devastating for business. We're looking at, I've seen estimates of over $200 billion in losses. That's because we're not dealing with climate change sufficiently, right? So yes, you can permit more drilling, more coal plants, everything else. And in the short term, it probably will increase the margins and profits of those companies. But you're going to have more LA fires, more droughts, more hurricanes, more tornadoes, more earthquakes, everything else. And ask the insurance industry how they feel about that. Or tariffs would be the third, which is short term, there will be pain. And by the way, pain especially for American consumers, right? If we're looking at a 25% tariff on all goods from Canada and Mexico, whether it's your home heating oil or avocados, everything's 25% more expensive. That's really a problem. On the other hand, if Trump is right that there's an unequal playing field between the U.S. and the other two countries in NAFTA, between the U.S. and China, around NATO, then trying to level that does make sense.
Bradley, let's talk about TikTok and the update that we got last night from President Trump, pushing off the ban just a bit, or pausing the TikTok ban. Questions about the legality of this and how this is going to play out in the coming months. How do you think, what does this tell us just in terms of the implications, maybe more broadly speaking, for big tech and how Trump is then likely to approach some of these issues, and especially when it comes to national security over the next 4 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that Trump was very telling, I saw some article this morning where they said, what made you change your position on TikTok? And he said, well, I started using it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, Trump believes in Trump. Right? So there's no underlying ideology that he has fealty to, whether it's conservative, liberal, libertarian, so it doesn't matter, right? He's going to do what's best for him. So when their interests align with his, it's going to work out for them. And when they don't, it won't, right? And so, for example, if you look at TikTok, the investors who are in ByteDance clearly want the law not to take place. If someone like Elon Musk might be a buyer of TikTok, he wants to benefit from that. But if you're Mark Zuckerberg, you don't want the competition and you want TikTok to go away. So, you should never make the mistake of thinking that he likes you, he cares about you, he's loyal to you. He likes, cares about, and is loyal only to himself. And when your interests are aligned with his, that's when you get stuff done.
That seems like an important framework too, just in terms of Mark Zuckerberg being there and the positive catalyst that a TikTok ban could be for Meta.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe you're saying investors don't read too much into that because Trump will do what he wants with TikTok.
100% of the time, right? And as soon as someone is not useful for Trump, they will be discarded. There are very few people who made it sort of the first term unscathed. He's not a different person, right? Maybe getting a shot changed him a little bit, but at the end of the day, he's Trump. And there are things about him that obviously appeal to the American people. A majority of people selected him in this election. But at the same time, if you don't go in with your eyes open, you're going to get burned.
And how long do you think Elon Musk lasts then under that?
I mean, it really depends in some ways. The most important thing Elon can do is show great deference to the president and tamp down any stories that he's co-equal or he's really the president or anything like that. It's just Trump's ego and insecurity that'll get in the way. So for as long as Trump feels like Elon is deferential to him, that can probably keep going. The minute that Trump starts hearing that it's really President Musk and not President Trump, that's when he's got a problem.
How successful do you think Musk is going to be, to that note, in the Trump administration? And I guess just in terms of being effective.
Yeah.
How realistic are some of these expectations?
There's two things, right? So first of all, keep in mind, Musk, kind of like Trump, especially with this new crypto, meme coin that Trump has, in many ways benefits economically from sort of perception and even pixie dust, right? The share price of Tesla makes no sense whatsoever when you look at economic metrics, but Musk has this sort of public aura, and Tesla's share price has gone up exponentially since Trump won. So Musk makes more money through image and branding than he does through making cars or satellites or anything else. So he knows that being in the West Wing is the best way for him to maximize his own personal wealth and earnings. When it comes to Doge specifically, look, I think he's going to find that government is a lot harder to get things done in than he realizes. A lot of stuff makes sense on paper, looks easy on paper, and then you start applying it to the real world, and they don't really care. But I do think that there's some real opportunity here. So for example, I spent the first 15 years of my career working in government, and things like procurement, rulemaking, licensure, permitting, there's so many functions that are performed so inefficiently, so expensively, that you could use AI and new technology for instead. That would be far more honest and far more cost effective. And so, if Elon and Doge could even start implementing some of that, that would make a big difference.
All right, Bradley Tusk, we have to leave it there. Thanks so much for taking the time.
Thank you for having me.
Join us here at the desk.